trim, followed by enter. Always, always. And I want to zoom in on these, so I'm going to wheel in. You're going to notice this thing kind of just shows me the corner here. So I've just wheeled in on that. And I just want to click off those tails so that it looks like a box. And you can roll in and out. But I need to do all 4 corners. So I think an important distinction to show, because I always get yelled at for this by students, is that like the 5th, 6th week they'll notice that I'm doing this and they'll be like, I didn't know you could do that. You never told us you could do that. So if you do trim, enter, one of the things you should know is that you don't have to just click, right? You can also drag. So if I know that I can do this, I can start here and I can say, look, I want to drag that. So it's a little faster. If you don't have to like click right on the line, you can click a window and drag around it. It also goes if you know that you have like a whole way to go. So like I can click here, right? And I can actually do this whole thing. And now I've clicked both of those at the same time. So just so you know, you can do that. I want to hear a couple weeks from now be like, you never told us that. Right, so in some cases it's faster, in some cases it's not, but I just want to trim those guys out. So now I have my perfect picture frame there, right? And this gets to the part where people are like, well, those corners are rounded, so they want to round corners. Rounding corners will be the last thing we do. And the reason for that is because all of these measurements come off of a squared corner. And if you round that, it drives all of them in, and then everything's messed up. Okay, so if you did that and you're sitting there wondering why yours looks whacked out, that's probably why it looks whacked out. So to further dissect this, I'm going to zoom in on this just a little bit. You're going to notice that there is a dimension here that covers this whole, if I'm following the extension lines outward, it's the whole height of this inner box. Okay, so it's not the outside frame that we just did. It's not the border that we just offset. It's one more. See that next line in as I follow the extension line out. It's actually this 4.386 tall, and then it ends up being this 1.703 wide. Okay, so again, I'm just working from the outside most in, right? So that's an important thing to know. That's the next box we're going to be building. The part that is not inherent to most people is that these dimensions right here you're going to see stand for typical. And if you've never read an engineering print before, it probably is totally foreign to you. Typical is a way to indicate that there are multiple distances, and that anytime you see that distance, this is the measurement for that. Instead of crowding this everywhere that has that gap, it's written it once and said, look, anytime you see this gap, this is what the spacing is. Okay? So it's just a kind of a faster notation to indicate that there are multiple of these, but they're all the same. Sometimes you'll see it where it'll count it off. It'll say, look, there are 3 of these circles and they all happen to be 0.5. So it'll be 3x. So 3 instances and they're all 0.5. In this particular case, instead of saying that, hey, look, there's 2 of these distances or 4 of these distances, it's just like, look, anytime you see that gap, it's this. So that's important to know because the distance here between that box that I just indicated, remember I did this 4.386 line, and the border we just offset is written over here on this 0.155 typical. Okay? And the easiest way that I can show you to do this is that you can use lines to build it and then delete the lines. So if you kind of are following with me here, I'm gonna zoom in on this corner, so I'm kind of the same spot. And I'm going to pick the line tool. So I'm gonna grab the line tool and I'm gonna go from this top corner, and I'm gonna build with lines here. You won't be able to see them very well for a second, but they're there. So I'm gonna go down, right? Or in, doesn't matter, but I'm gonna go down. So you can see I'm gonna pull my cursor downward, 0.155, enter. And then I'm gonna pull my cursor inward. You can kind of see it moving now, right? It's down below that border line. 0.155, enter. And it should leave you these little stubby lines. I'm gonna click on them so you can see them. There's one, right? And there's the other. So those are my two little stubby lines that I'm building with. So all I did is I went to that corner, that inside border, and I went with a line tool, and I built down 0.155, and I built in 0.155. And that's just because here in my drawing, my source drawing, it told me that this thing is 0.155 typical. So in both ways. Yeah. Too fast?